It started like any other summer night in Texas, warm, humid, and still. But beneath the calm sky, a storm was brewing. Within hours, what began as light rainfall turned into a torrential downpour that would forever change the lives of hundreds in Kerr County. Locals described hearing what sounded like distant thunder. Then came the winds. Then the wall of water. Camp Mystic, nestled along the banks of the Guadalupe River, became ground zero for a tragedy no one saw coming. It wasn't just a flood. It was a force of nature that tore through cabins, ripped apart communities, and swallowed lives whole. Survivors remember screams in the pitch-black night, children calling for help, parents desperately searching for their sons and daughters. It was like a war zone, one mother said, holding onto the soaked teddy bear that belonged to her missing daughter. You couldn't see anything. You could only hear the water and the screaming. In Camp Mystic alone, 28 children and 12 adults lost their lives. Among them were best friends Eloise Peck and Lila Bonner, just 8 years old. They had finished second grade and were enjoying summer with friends. The camp director, Dick Eastland, also perished. A father of 4, he died trying to rescue the girls under his care. Kerrville, a small, tight-knit town, quickly transformed into a landscape of despair. Roads were washed out, homes reduced to splinters, families displaced. The church that once echoed with hymns now held tearful vigils. The First Presbyterian Church in Kerrville opened its doors to the grieving, offering space for prayer, reflection, and comfort. Nearby, search and rescue teams continued to comb the banks of the Guadalupe. Helicopters hovered overhead. Divers scoured murky waters. Hope lingered, but it dimmed with every passing hour. In the midst of darkness, stories of heroism emerged. Julian Ryan, 27, broke open the window of his flooding home to save his family. He guided his mother, grandmother, and little brother to safety. But Julian didn't make it. The shattered glass had cut him too deeply. "He gave his life for us," his brother said, standing beside the remains of their home. "He's our hero." Rescue workers, Coast Guard teams, and local volunteers worked around the clock. Through mud, rain, and debris, they kept searching. Many hadn't slept for days. Others refused to leave until every missing person was found. Among the heartbreak were faces, young, smiling, full of life. Brooke and Blair Harbor, cousins who attended camp with their grandparents, were found 15 miles downstream. Their hands were still locked together. Only their parents survived. Janie Hunt, just 9 years old, was among those confirmed lost. A cousin of Kansas City Chiefs owner Clark Hunt, her family said she loved horses and wore her rosary every day. Grief hung heavy across Texas. Green ribbons were tied around trees. Candles burned in silence. Schools mourned their students. Communities mourned their children. As the rescue efforts continued, hard questions surfaced. Why weren't more urgent alerts sent? Why wasn't the camp evacuated sooner? Could any of this have been prevented? Officials confirmed that warning systems were in place, but messages may not have reached everyone. Some campers were asleep. Others had no idea the river could rise so fast. Within 30 minutes, the Guadalupe swelled to record heights, washing away entire cabins with children inside. Experts blamed a rare meteorological event, but locals pointed to aging infrastructure, poor planning, and slow responses. The damage was too widespread, the trauma too deep. Across the state, churches held services, families clung to each other. Photos of the lost were projected on walls. Names were read aloud, each one a memory, a life stolen too soon. Some parents, like Nika Jacobs, returned to their homes only to find ruins. 4 generations of my family lived here, she said. Now it's all gone. Volunteers brought food, blankets, and prayers, but nothing could fill the hole left by those missing. Nothing could undo the silence that followed the storm. In the face of such darkness, Texas responded with resilience. The community leaned on faith, on each other, and on the stories of the brave. From church pews to shelter cots, people found strength in unity. Federal aid began to arrive. The president declared a state of emergency. But as politicians spoke, the people focused on healing, on rebuilding, on remembering. This flood was more than a natural disaster. It was a test of faith, of courage, and of humanity. And Texas showed the world what it meant to endure. As the waters receded, the scars remained. But so did the memories of those we lost, and the heroes we found in the darkest hours. May their stories never be forgotten. May we always be ready. And may the rivers of Texas never again carry such sorrow.